what's up everybody, I'm SuperSonicJB, and today I almost got into a fight. Now you're probably wondering yourself, who on earth would pick a fight with the guy who owns Nicktoons MLB? Well, basically I was at Walmart and I was trying to get the last loaf of bread, but then some random guy shows up and takes it from me. And that made me so mad that I decided to challenge a guy to a race. And then when he denied that, I went ahead and challenged him to a fight. And then when he went ahead and denied that, I got real mad there. And that's when I decided, hey man, I bet I can defeat a giant robot in the fight before you can. Wait, isn't this how the Sonic Rivals games go? I talked about the PSP before in past videos, and I always said it was a great handheld device that had so much potential, but was a bit of a letdown due to the lack of games on it. Now don't get me wrong, it had some great games on it, like Metal Gear Solid and God of War, but lots of these games were just ports, which don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with porting games, but these PSP ports tend to be downgrades compared to the original console the game was on. Sony was also trying to compete with the Nintendo DS at the time, and it did not go very well. And lots of these non-ported PSP games were not really that memorable. I mean, who looks at Secret Agent Clank and is like, I need that? Some companies did jump on a Sony bandwagon and made their very own PlayStation Portable exclusive games, one of these companies being Sega. In 2006 and 2007, Sega teamed up with the company Backbone Entertainment to make two new Sonic racing games, titled Sonic Rivals and Sonic Rivals 2. These were 2.5D racing games exclusive to the PSP, with your goal being to race against your rivals. These games got mixed reviews from critics and fans alike when they came out, and later on, these games were kinda forgotten about. But today I thought it'd be cool to go back and review both of the games for a video, so let's go ahead and check out the Sonic Rivals racing games. We'll start things off by talking about the first game, Sonic Rivals. This game came out in November 2006 on the PSP, only 2 days after Sonic 06 came out. Just let that sink in. Dang, I got a Sonic game before and after my birthday that year, how cool! If only there were better games. This game was apparently helped created by the company Backbone Entertainment, who I'd never heard of before making this video. They worked on a decent amount of games during the 2000s, but unfortunately got shut down in 2012. This was the very first Sonic game they ever worked on, and they'd later work on other Sonic games, like Sonic Rivals 2, and some of the classic Sonic game ports. They even worked on Shrek and Roll, so you know, they're truly an amazing company.
I'd prefer swamp rats, but coins'll do. I'd prefer swamp rats, but coins'll do.
I'd prefer swamp rats, but coins'll do.
Alright, let's go ahead and actually start Sonic Rivals. Honestly, not a bad title screen. I just wish it wasn't shaking so much. Now, this game focuses on the characters Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, and Silver. Each character has their own storyline that you play through, with 6 different stages to play from. Each stage has 2 acts and a boss to fight. You unlock stages as you play through the game, and there's also some challenges you can complete, and a cup circuit you can also race through. But I'm just going to focus on the story mode here for this. We start things off with Sonic's story, where Dr. Eggman has apparently kidnapped Tails and Amy and transformed them into cards. So if you have a deck of Sonic Uno at home, you're probably holding Tails and Amy's souls hostage. Knuckles is also here because Eggman turned the Master Emerald into a card too. He plans to turn all kinds of things across the world into cards using a magic camera to make his very own card collection. Yeah, this is definitely a bizarre plan, but whatever, this is the same guy who put little animals in capsules. And then Eggman runs off, and instead of working together, Sonic and Knuckles decide to race to see who can kick Eggman's butt first. I mean, this game's called Sonic Rivals, not Sonic Let's Team Up to beat Eggman. So basically the opposite of Sonic Heroes.
Because we're Sonic Heroes.
So now we finally get to start playing the game by playing through the first stage, Forest Falls Zone. Now as I mentioned earlier, this is a racing game, and in these first 2 acts, we get to race against Knuckles and have to get to the finish line before he does. You can do the typical Sonic moves like spin dash, jump, and homing attack. You can also collect power-ups in a stage that help you attack your rival or protect you. Each stage has a lot of obstacles that can either help you or slow you down. Sometimes when approaching an obstacle, the game will give you a quick time event that will let you boost off the object so you can keep your speed up. Here's the thing though, the level design overall, it's just kinda meh. Lots of portions of each level are just automatic, and if you mess up any of the quick time events, you'll be slowed down big time. Also, your opponent tends to rubber band you, meaning that if you're far in the lead, they'll speed up a lot. But if you're far behind, they'll slow down. Just imagine it like this.
Oh, winning by a lot. Wait, why is he speeding up so much? Holy crap! Oh man, I'm losing big time. Wait, why is he going so slow all of a sudden? He's practically stopped.
I will give the level design some credit though. The backgrounds and bright colors look really nice. It does feel really satisfying to move fast while playing through a level. The music is also really nice, but we'll talk more about that later. After you win a race, you get this funny victory screen that shows your character looking real happy while your rival is basically crying like a baby. You also get your total score and see what rank you got. and at the end of every level, you're rewarded with some cards. So I guess you are now collecting people's souls? Okay, I thought Eggman was the villain. After beating Acts 1 and 2, you get to fight a boss, and honestly, these bosses are pretty laughable. You're supposed to hit them about 6 times in total in their weak spot, and then you win. However, you have to beat them before your rival does, or else you lose. The bosses are extremely easy and pretty forgetful for the most part. They're also really repetitive, with them being pretty much the same thing over and over again. And I know I made a joke like this before back when I reviewed the Sonic Drift games, but what is wrong with Eggman's face right there?
You know what they say, the more the merrier.
Let me also just say this, I played through every character's story, and wow, the plot throughout this entire game is just so boring, so spoilers ahead, but does anyone really care in 2023?
I care.
First off, the Eggman that you chase throughout the game is actually Dr. Eggman Nega, who originated from Sonic Rush. And he has come from the future to use his camera thingy to turn the entire planet and everyone on it into a card. That's a pretty dumb plan, not gonna lie. Yeah, go ahead, man, turn the planet into a card, and you'll probably die in space or something.
Yes! I won! Frogger!
Heck, lots of portions of the actual story we don't even get to see. At the beginning of Sonic's story, him and Tails are visiting the mysterious Onyx Island that randomly appeared one day, and the fake Eggman ends up turning Tails into a card. He also does the same with characters like Amy, Rouge, and even the real Eggman, but we don't get to see any of this in the actual game, which is such a letdown. So Sonic's story hasn't chased Eggman Nega to get the Tails and Amy cards back. Knuckles' story also has him chase down Eggman Nega to get the Master Emerald back. Shadow gets a distress call from Eggman, so he's here to investigate. And Silver has come from the future to stop his arch-nemesis Dr. Eggman Nega from transforming the world into a card. Yeah, like I said, the plot sucks in this game. Eggman Nega should just stick to buying Pokemon cards or something. And every cutscene is basically copy and pasted dialogue, with each character being like,
"What are you doing here?"
Well,
I'm confused. Ah!
like seriously, if you guys would just work together for once, you could for sure beat Eggman Nega. But nope, they rather race to see who cracks that egg first.
Let's have a race to see who goes first.
why?
You confuse me.
Now yes, even though this game had a lot of bad moments, I will admit it was kind of enjoyable. Kind of. Some of the levels are fun to play through, and seeing Silver return is very nice considering the events from Sonic 06 never ended up happening, and I did enjoy some of the music. The final boss though, yeah, it's bad. It's literally just a mess of annoying obstacles to avoid, and then you hit a random cannon while the bridge is collapsing behind you until you reach the end. This boss battle is the same throughout every story too, which is just so lame. Like, couldn't you give us a last story we can unlock by beating all the other ones, like they did in the adventure games? And the most annoying part is that neither Sonic nor Tails know that the fake Eggman is really Eggman Nega. Like, really? Nobody told him that! But I did it, I managed to beat all 4 stories in Sonic Rivals. And yeah, the game overall was okay. The plot sucked, the bosses were lame, but the gameplay was decent for the most part. C-tier game overall.
So yeah, that was Sonic Rivals 1, and overall, it was an alright game, but nothing too special. Now we're gonna jump into the sequel, Sonic Rivals 2, and according to everyone on the internet, this one's actually a big step up from the original, so let's check it out.
Alright, now it's time for us to take a look at and play the sequel, Sonic Rivals 2. And let me just say this game is a huge improvement to the original. The first one only had 4 playable characters, and this one has 8, which is already a big improvement. There's different games you can play through, and the levels are way more fun to play through too. Like even the menu screens look way better than they did in the original. So each story is split up into 4 parts, with 2 characters partnering up with one another. You got Sonic and Tails, Knuckles and Rouge, Shadow and Metal Sonic, and Silver and Espio. And I honestly like these pairings, they're pretty interesting. I wish I could say the same about the game's story. Yeah, just like the first Sonic Rivals, the sequel here also doesn't have the greatest storyline. Wow, who knew a PSP racing game would have such a lame story, am I right? So for Sonic and Tails' story, they're investigating the disappearance of tons of Chow. Look guys, there's one right there, get him!
Check it out!
Turns out Dr. Eggman stole a Chow and imprisoned him in a haunted mansion to feed him to a huge fire monster called the Ifrit. And no, not the Final Fantasy character. Eggman wants to feed the Ifrit some Chow so it'll be powered up and can be released into the real world, where it'll destroy everything. However, he of course needs the Chaos Emeralds to open a portal to the Ifrit's dimension, because when in doubt, Chaos Emeralds, am I right? For Knuckles' story, him and Rouge team up to find the Master Emerald, which is pretty boring, not gonna lie. Silver returns from the future again, because the Ifrit destroyed everything, and he plans to take the Chow to keep them safe. in which SBO starts to investigate why he's doing this, only to join forces with him after he discovers Silver's plan. And Shadow runs into Metal Sonic, who's being controlled by Eggman, revealed that Eggman Nega is back and is once again pretending to be the real Eggman, and he learned about the Ifrit's existence by accessing some of Gerald Robonic's journals. So Shadow and Metal Sonic plan to get the Chaos Emeralds before he does. Now, while I will admit I prefer the storyline in this game compared to the first game, it still is nothing too special. This time around though, there's fully voice acted cutscenes, which is really nice, especially considering these are some of my favorite Sonic voice actors. However, the cutscenes themselves are once again just some JPEGs popping up on the screen. And yeah, just like in the first game, Sonic still doesn't know that he's fighting Eggman Nega again, and honestly, I just feel kinda bad for him. It kinda reminds me of that one clip from Sonic Rivals of the Last Ifrit.
So Sonic, how does it feel to be a minor character in your own series?
I'm a failure.
Okay, I promise it's the last time I'll be referencing those videos. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay now, shall we? The game plays out a lot like the first game does, with you racing to the end of the level against your rival. However, this time around, each character has their own special abilities, like Sonic getting a burst of speed, Tails flying, Shadow using Chaos Control, etc. You can activate your special when you collect a good amount of rings. The level design still feels a little automatic, but not nearly as much as the first one did, and it controls pretty decently for the most part. What's nice here is that in the sequel, we have more than just races and boss battles. We also have a one-on-one fight against your rival, where you can fight them on a small stage and deal damage by attacking them until they have no rings left.
Can't keep up.
You do have to beat them 3 times in order to progress, but it's still an enjoyable game for the most part. There's also a Capture the Chow minigame, where you and your rival face out to sea, but you can collect more Chow. And I thought this game was pretty fun too. You can play these games with a friend in multiplayer, which is very nice. However, once again, the boss battles here are just about as lame as they were in the original game. Especially this one with the dice box. Like, come on, who designed this crap?
Hi, as the creator of that boss battle right there, who is clearly not just SuperSonicJB wearing glasses and a tie, I can 100% confirm that that boss battle I made right there is without doubt one of the best looking, okay, who am I kidding? It's absolute garbage.
At least the final boss versus the Ifrit is decent, but also way too easy. Another thing I want to mention are the stages themselves. I enjoyed them way more in this game compared to the original game. Some of my favorite stages include Blue Coast Zone, Frontier Canyon, and Mystic Haunt. Also, did you know Sonic.exe appears in this game while playing through Mystic Haunt Zone?
Huh? Who's there? That's me! That's one spooky look on my face. I'm out of here. Hey, it's chasing me.
I will eat your heart.
Yeah, I know that's not really Sonic.exe, but it's still very similar to him. It was probably the inspiration for him. Also, the music in this game is really nice too, especially with the game's main theme that you hear while playing through Blue Coast Zone Act 1, Race to Win.
I always race to win, keep running to the end, make gonna move and stay one step ahead, sit back and watch me go the only way I know, cause nothing's gonna slow me down.
Such a short song, but still a really enjoyable one. The game also has some single player missions where you don't even have to race against a rival, and instead doing a time trial or collecting a set amount of rings. While these minigames may not be super fun, it is nice to have a break from trying to kill someone. Also, sometimes you can choose who you want to play as for a mission between the 2 characters you're playing as, which is nice. Heck, you can even skip some levels thanks to this feature. No, Rouge, I don't want to race right now. I do also gotta say, the character models here look pretty terrible. Really, in both games they look awful. Sure, the backgrounds and levels look nice, but the characters look really odd. Also, the character JPEGs were reused for the sequel, which is lame, but considering the fact that this game only came out 1 year after the first game, I can kinda understand that. And yes, the game did kinda drag on after a little while, with me playing through the same levels in the same order in all 4 story modes. Plus the storyline at the very end gets rushed through big time, like the devs didn't really fully know how to end it. Sonic and Tails save the Chow, Knuckles and Rouge find the Master Emerald, only for Rouge to steal it again, you filthy rat. Shadow and Metal Sonic leave Eggman Nega stranded in the Ifrit's dimension, and they return home, and Silver returns to the future, while SBO goes back home to report this whole story to Vector. Yeah, in my opinion, I once again think that there should have been a last story that he unlocked by beating the 4 story modes, and the 8 characters could have banded together to stop Dr. Eggman Nega and the Ifrit, but nope, we got this rushed, lazy ending instead. And honestly, that's all I really had to say about Sonic Rivals 2, and while I did find the game enjoyable, I couldn't ignore its flaws, with the repetitive gameplay and lame boss battles, but I still think it's far better than the first game ever was. Now, I'll be honest here, I'm actually a tad disappointed we never got Sonic Rivals 3. If they made a third one and put it on more than just the PSP, then maybe it could have been a big success, but the first two games just didn't do well enough to warrant the third one. And since Backbone Entertainment went out of business, this probably means we won't ever see a new Sonic Rivals game ever again. So I say from the bottom of my heart, rest in peace to the Sonic Rivals series.
So those were the Sonic Rivals games, and like I said, they were decent, but pretty forgetful. At least the games taught me how to make my very own rivals, and how to start a fight with a giant robot. I mean, hey, getting your own rival is as simple as seeing some guy take your last loaf of bread and being like, I'm confused! Ah!